The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat. For life. The Remarkable People Podcast.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of the Remarkable People Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us. You are going to meet a man who has started multiple businesses, serial entrepreneur. He sees opportunity and he seizes it, right? How many of us have had ideas, sat on it, know it's a good idea, don't really know how to make it happen, and then 5, 10, 20 years later, you see it become a reality. Mike's going to talk a lot about how, not just what he did, but how he did it in practical steps and a whole lot more. The show may go a totally different direction than what I'm saying now, but I want you to understand who we are talking with and just some of the things he's accomplished. And his latest venture, we're going to discuss how it's signal relief, stops pain, and it's something that is taking the market by storm because it's actually helping people. I haven't tried it yet, but for everything I've heard, it's phenomenal. So our guest today is Mike Hammond. Mike, welcome to the Remarkable People Podcast.
How you doing?
Man, I'm remarkable. How are you today?
Dude, I'm awesome. I'm excited to be on. Yeah, I'm excited to share some of the stuff that I've learned over the last 25 years.
We're excited to have you. And along with that, I always ask our guests at the beginning of the show, we're going to go through your life story. We're going to talk or maybe talk in depth or touch on what I just said. But if there was one passion, one just driving, just desire that you want to communicate to our listeners around the world, what is that bottom line message that you guarantee if our listeners hang with you for this episode, they're going to walk away with and be a better human, apply it to their life, and have more success?
One of my favorite teachers was asked actually who the greatest leader that he ever worked with was, and he said Christ, because a leader is influence, and Jesus Christ has influenced his life more than anything. And I thought about that, right? And one of my favorite quotes from the Savior was, "All things are possible to him that believeth." And the opposite of faith is fear. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, and we're going to talk about it, but I have 15 companies. I have a tendency just to keep going after ideas. And one of the things I've noticed that really sets me apart from a lot of my peers is that some guys have a lot of really good ideas, but they're always afraid to go after it. And if I was to go away with anything today, I would want people to just know that all things are possible to him that believeth. You got to believe in yourself. If you have an idea, if you have something that you've always wanted to do, stop not doing it just because you're afraid of failure. And we'll discuss a lot about what I'm talking about when it comes to that, but that's it, man. That would be my thought for everyone right there. Follow your dreams, go after it.
Amen to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short commercial break and come back with our remarkable guest, Mike Hammond. This is a quick review of the MyPillow My Cross for men. So I love the My Cross. It is 5 stars as far as I'm concerned, and I'm going to tell you why. It's a very attractive design. It's 2-sided, so if it flips around, it looks just as beautiful because it's exactly the same for the men on both sides. The women, it actually changes colors, so you get 2 different outfits you can wear it with, or 2 different types of outfits. But for the men's, it is manly, it's solid, it's well constructed, and it actually comes with a stainless necklace, silver necklace. However, I didn't want to wear 2 necklaces because I always wear a gold chain that my son and I have matching. So what I did is I took off the chain that it came with, and that is beautiful. But then I put the My Cross around my necklace, and now I have the best of both worlds. And for me, this is something I like to wear on the inside because it's just between me and God. but I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ either. So if it comes out and it's on the outside, it looks beautiful, it looks attractive, and it's not too heavy, it's not too bulky. And I honestly, when I'm wearing it, it's so comfortable. I forget it's there at times. And then I'll look in the mirror and be like, oh, that's so nice. So for me, the My Cross is worth the money. It's great quality. You will not be disappointed. And if you want to go with the silver look with the chain it comes with, or whether you want to put around a gold chain, as you can see, it looks beautiful both ways, and you will not be disappointed. And if for some crazy reason you are, you can always call MyPillow customer service, because for almost all their products, they got a money back guarantee. Hope this video helped. Enjoy your cross when you get it and wear it proudly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Mike, they are not here for me. They're here to learn from you. Take us through your story, brother. Where were you born? What was your upbringing like? Were you wired like this from the beginning? Did your parents or an orphanage have to refine you? What was the origin of your story?
Man, like probably most of America, I grew up broke. My dad was a janitor. My mom taught swim lessons, but my bedroom was a garage. So my dad, I remember actually the day that we closed the garage door, put insulation around it, and spray painted the floor blue. And I thought it was the coolest bedroom I'd ever had. And I grew up in Idaho. I grew up without a lot. And so when I wanted something, I had to go after it. And so I still remember third or fourth grade, I think it was third grade, I wanted to buy a Nintendo because Nintendo had just come out. It was the Atari and then the Nintendo. And so I started going door to door.
I remember that. I'm not just saying this. I didn't have any money
Yeah.
either, but there was hit, run, and throw in baseball, like a fundraiser. And the first prize was a TV or something. And the second prize was a Nintendo or vice versa. And I wanted to win it. So I did everything I could to win it because I couldn't afford it. Keep going. That's
Dude,
funny.
that's it.
And I did
So
get it, by the way. I won the bigger prize and I won the bigger prize and traded it for the Nintendo.
dude, that's so what I did actually is there was a candy store by me, a lollipop factory, and they used to sell their like the shavings. So they'd make the lollipops and all the shavings they'd pile up into, and you could buy them by the bag for 10 cents on the dollar. So I went and started buying all their shavings and then packaging them and selling them to all my classmates. And then we have a university that's by us, BYU Idaho. Back then it was Rick's College. And so I went door to door selling bags of lollipop shavings to college kids. And I bought my first Nintendo. And I was like, man, that was easy. And I think that just started something in me where I was like, how else can I make money? What else can I actually go do? And so from a young age, I actually started doing my own stuff and providing for myself. And I just think those habits that I developed at a young age have blessed me actually through my whole life. And so when I got into college, I wanted to be a religion teacher actually. And I was going to college for that. And then I found out actually what the pay would be. And I was like, I can't accomplish everything I want to accomplish on that. And I ended up starting my first business. So ever since college, I've never worked for another human in my life. From the time I was 22 till now, I've always worked for myself. And so when I graduated, I went and started a company called DishOne Satellite. And that was my first venture. And it ended up becoming the largest satellite retailer in the United States. I ended up selling that one off in 2012 to Dish Network. But what's so funny is, and again, this is something I wanted to actually talk with you about, is people always come up to me and they're like, man, I can't believe how awesome your businesses are. How'd you get so lucky? How did you get into the business that you got into, right? They don't understand the struggle that people go through. And so, David, this is actually one of the things I'd like to discuss is, and I'd love to get your opinion on it. But in school, they teach us 8 out of 10 businesses are going to fail. Out of those 2 businesses that make it, less than half will ever break $2 million. Okay. By year 10, half of those will fail, which means what? The odds of us being successful entrepreneurs, no wonder everyone's afraid, right? But the thing is that's interesting to me is So birds of a feather flock together. I have a lot of friends who are big time entrepreneurs, and very few of them have ever failed. In fact, I have 15 businesses right now, 15 that I haven't sold that are still active. All of them are over $2 million in revenue, and I've never had one fail, right? And so my belief is that it's 2 out of 10 entrepreneurs have what it takes. It isn't the business, because every single one of my businesses have come against incredible odds, actually, and we figured out how to make them work. To give you an example, when I'd actually built up DishOne Satellite by 2011, we were already the largest in the US. I hadn't sold it yet. I decided to go get my MBA because I've always wanted to get my MBA. So I went to school, and at the same time, I decided to open a pest control company. Just this is how bad I am. So I
Good
hired
margins
100
in it,
sales
right?
reps. Yeah, that's right, dude. So satellite's going. I'm in school full time. I open up a pest company, and actually it was 2010 when this happened. And I open it in 5 states. I do 5 branches. I hire the branch managers, buy the trucks, get the branch offices open. And it was 2 weeks before the summer started. And I get an email from the bank, and they said, "We're sorry to inform you. We told you we could fund your summer," but it was the bank collapse, right? It was right in the middle of the bank collapse, 09, 2010.
Yeah,
And
and
they
so
just said,
for our international listeners within America, there's so many fraudulent mortgages and loans going on from '05 to '08. Everybody knew what was happening. It was corruption from the top to the bottom, and then that caused what Mike's talking about. Correct, my friend?
100%. And Dish One at the time was growing so fast that it didn't have any extra cash flow. So I was, dude, when I saw that email, my best friend actually, have you ever had those pigskin potato chips that you eat? They're like pigskin potato chips. My
I
buddy's
have
the
not.
CEO.
Okay.
They're out of North Carolina, and he was the CEO, but he was in my MBA class. And his name was Ray. He said he noticed me go white as a ghost. So I opened that thing up, I saw it, and I'm like, dude, what am I going to do with all these guys I've shipped? I had branches in DC, in Virginia, in Tennessee. My friends, it's my friends that I hired and sent out. And I have no way to fund it, and it's 2 weeks away. And all those thoughts hit me where you're just like, crap, I'm going to let all these guys down. There's no way I'm going to be able to fund it. I needed $1 million to get through the first month. And so I went out into the hall just to gather my thoughts, and Ray came out after me. This is where good friends come in, right? And Ray goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "Dude, the bank just emailed me and said they're not going to fund my pest company. There's no way I can get funding." And Ray goes, "Mike, what are you doing here?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You have 2 weeks to raise $1 million. You need to get out of here and go make it happen." I was like, "You're right. I need to get out of here." So I went and shut my laptop, and I took off, and I put together a deck, and I went to every person I knew. And this old farmer named Wendell wrote me a check for 750,000 with just a handshake, no contract, 2 days before the summer started. And we were able to actually fund it and grow it. And so people are like, "Dude, how are you so successful? How did you make it happen?" But what I really think it is, what happens to most entrepreneurs when they hit an obstacle or when things actually get tough? Do you give up? Do you stop? Do you let fear actually paralyze you so you don't move forward? And I think that's what causes most businesses to fail, because what's so funny, and I feel like 90% of my businesses have hit something similar to that every single time. I've been a paper millionaire 100 times, right? You always think, "Oh man, this is going to do so well." And then real life kicks in, and it's 8 years before you usually get a business to cash flowing heavy. That's reality. And it's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of struggle, and you're always adjusting and moving forward. But I think I'm a huge believer that all things are possible to him that believeth, but you have to believe in your cause, and you have to go over it, because you have to go after it, because obstacles are going to come at you. And are you the type that's going to fold, or are you going to go after the grace of, right, the grace of God? What actually he what is God's grace? It's his omnipotent power that helps us do things that we can't do when left to our own means. But we still have to do everything we can, period, going after it, and then let God make up the difference. And I've lived by that. That's just been my mantra. And so when you have something you believe in, you go after it, and you don't let obstacles cause you to quit, because you can always find a way through those obstacles. So yeah, I'm not saying I'm invincible. Maybe I'll have one that will fail, but the majority of what I do won't fail because I won't quit.
Yeah, no,
That's
I agree with you. And there's so many things to discuss just from this section alone. Starting with, you talked about the statistics we're all fed. Man, I think honestly, it's like the whole school system. We're bred to fail. They don't teach us the skills we need for life in the public schools. And obviously,
hmm
money's not the key. We just did an episode with a gentleman he just spent the last 8 years digging into the public school systems in America. And we spend more money than income of countries. And we have dropping results in every area. And when you see a stat, like you said, there's so many variables that go into a business being successful or not. But I was
hmm
just this week talking about how once a business gets past that 10-year mark, they're probably going to be reliable. Because we were talking about high dollar purchases.
hmm
A warranty's no good if the company's not going to be around, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you need to make sure this company's solid. But I agree with you that the statistics that we're taught, it talks about somebody who starts a food cart and they don't know what they're doing. They're just excited about a food cart. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know people who've made empires off food carts, right? But you know what I'm
hmm
saying? They could go out and say, I have a business and they're selling dog food to their neighbors that they bought at the grocery store. So it could be anything. That's such a skewed number. But I agree with you that if people find excuses, they're going to fail. And if people find a way, they're going to succeed because with God, all things are possible. That's Old Testament, New Testament. It's written multiple passages, phrased in different ways. But like you said, Hebrews 11, by faith. Everything comes down
hmm
to faith. So when you're working and now you have this company, and 2 days before the summer starts, you get the funding you need, where does your life go from there, Mike?
So honestly, we built that thing up. We sold it, ended up selling it to Terminex. I ended up moving my family to Idaho to be closer to my parents. And I started teaching at a university, actually. I was teaching entrepreneurialism. After about 2 semesters, I literally went crazy. I couldn't sit in a classroom. I needed to get back out there. So I looked for another business, and I found a business actually. It was a landscape company, and it was out in Driggs by Jackson Hole. And I bought that landscape company for just barely a little bit over $20 million. And the P&L said that it was making about $2 million a year for 10 years straight. And it had been around for 30 years. It looked like a good buy. So I show up day one. And again, this is another example of guys with integrity, but
Hey,
I
and
showed
just so you
up day
know,
one.
not everybody is an entrepreneur listening to our show. So what Mike was just referring to is a profit and loss statement. Before you buy a business, you look at the numbers, you look at the books. So he's
hmm
looking at on paper a business that's a good investment. Now, Mike, tell us what really
Yeah.
happened.
So the accountant that I hired actually to go through the books was getting paid a $250,000 fee from the seller to sell the business, but it wasn't disclosed. So he did all the
Huge
work.
issue.
Yeah. And I walk in, and a guy, it was a professor that I was teaching with. He had also retired early with me. He had retired at 38. He was one of the original VPs of Vivint Alarm. So when they sold the Blackstone, he had cashed out and retired and was teaching up there with me. And when I started buying this landscape company, he's, dude, I want to buy in. Can I buy in with you? And I was like, dude, I can't. I've already got everything going with the bank. Why don't you just come with me at the beginning? I'll just announce you as a partner, and after it's done, you can buy in. I'll just put you on the loans after. So we go day one, and we find out we have 300 employees at the time. We find out half of them don't speak English. The current owner never let us meet with the employees before because he didn't want to scare people. So we're like, we can't even talk to half these people. So we're figuring that out. And then the CFO comes up to us and says, I need $600,000 today, or you're not going to make payroll. And I'm like, this is day one. So I'm like, what do you mean we need $600,000 to make payroll? I thought you guys made money last year. There's no way we made money last year. So we start doing a deep dive and we find out that there was fake revenue. It was in tree inventory. And what we thought was a $2 million gain ended up being a $400,000 loss. So we'd had a bunch of money down, but we still had almost $10 million of debt. So our debt payments were 200 grand a month. Plus we had a $40,000 deficit a month. So you have to put yourself in that situation where all of a sudden you're like, I've got bank loans I'm signed on to. I've got a business that needs 40,000 a month. Plus I have to make it to it. Like, where am I going to come up with the cash, right? And so we start doing a deep dive into the business. And I go up to my buddy and I say, hey, look, you haven't signed on to any of these loans yet. I know this isn't what you signed up for. You don't have to be my partner on this deal. And Brian actually said, and this is a lesson I think for anyone, he said, Mike, I gave you my word that I would be your partner. I'm not just going to bail on you because it got hard. I'm in. I'll sign on the notes and we'll figure this out. Which that was huge for me at the time, right? Because you feeling like you're all alone. Now I'm like, at least I got a buddy here who's capable, who can help me figure this out. So we went through the numbers and found that the gross margins per deal were great. It was just it had this destination nursery. It's a mess. It's the largest nursery in 4 states probably. And we just realized that we had to basically double the business to get it to cash flow. So we went to the bank and we told the bank that we showed them what reality was. And we said, look, you have a $10 million note with us. That's probably going to go into default unless you lend us another $7 million for equipment because we need to double the size of the company and we can because we're turning down more work than we can do. So the bank gave us another 7 million bucks. We went out and bought all the equipment we needed for more crews and we hired an additional 80 guys. We finished that year making 800 grand. We finished the next year netting 2.5 million, the next year netting 4.5 million, the next year netting 7. And we just kept growing it. And we just sold that company last year, and it was the largest landscaping company in the state of Idaho and Wyoming. And I had no idea what that would turn into, right? And again, how many times do people come up to me and just go, ah, dude, how did you luck out with MD? How do you get so lucky? How did you fall into that one, right? And that's what they see, but they don't realize that there's a struggle associated usually with most success. And I feel like God does this on purpose. It's like you have to step into the dark, right? You have to learn how to generate faith and belief and go after actually your dream. And I just feel like I've hit that now with every business. And it's either do you give up or do you keep pursuing and going after your dream, knowing that in the end, God will help you make it right. And for me, it always has turned out okay. It's always turned out all right. But I feel like all my businesses have ran into something similar. And if you just don't give up and you keep moving forward, they just always end up being awesome. And one of the other things that I've lived by is I've also realized really early on that I'm actually probably the least talented. I'm not the guy. I hire the right people and I surround myself with good people. And we always create an environment. My goal has always been, what can I do in my company where I don't have to chase employees? Everyone will want to work here. How do I make it so everyone wants to work for me so I can attract the top talent, right? So for landscaping, actually, that year one, we knew we had to double. We knew we had to hire a bunch of guys. My buddy Brian put together a Christmas party, and we had 50% Spanish workers. They were visa workers that we were shipping in. And so it's poor families. And we did a Christmas party, and instead of actually buying presents for our employees, we bought presents for every single one of their kids. So if you can imagine this gym that all these kids, we had 350 people come to our Christmas party and they walk into this gym And I'm telling you,
Hmm.
David, every toy you can think of was in there. It was drones and bikes and all this stuff on the wall. And what we would do is we would draw a name. We'd draw one of their kids' names. And then if whatever order they got their name drawn, they'd go up and pick any present they wanted in this Christmas party, right? So the first one's this little Mexican boy, Spanish boy. And he comes up and he looks at the wall. And I'm just like, dude, what's he going to get? That's what I'm thinking. He walks over to the soccer ball and he grabs a soccer ball and he looks to my partner Brian and he's like, "Can I have this soccer ball?" And he turns to his dad. He's, "Dad, can I really have this soccer ball?" And his dad says yes, and the kid starts crying, grabs the soccer ball. I think all of us started to cry because you just realize, man, that kid had nothing. That's what he wanted, a soccer ball. And but it created this environment where everyone, when people heard about that, wanted to come work for MD, right? And so how do you do that? How do you make it about your people? How do you attract the top talent? Because we all have different skill sets. And I think successful entrepreneurs surround themselves with really good people. They're not afraid of being overshadowed. And I've
Yeah, and
noticed
you know
that with
what?
all my buddies.
That's interesting you say that because remember the golden watch days before. I think you and I are about the same age, and I'm 49, which
Yeah.
I disclose.
I'm exactly 49. Yeah.
Yeah. So people used to joke about the golden watch era, where people would get a job, whether they went to college or not, and they stayed at a company for 40 years, 50 years, 25 years. Just leaving a job and changing was actually, whoa, what's wrong with you? And
Yeah.
there was a company in my town that was prestigious, like what you're saying. If you work there, oh, they only hire the best. And I remember I called him Uncle Joe, and he was related, but he was much older. And he brought me to their company Christmas party. And I was like, mom and dad weren't married, didn't know my dad, I was poor. And there was a Santa Claus on the stage. And to me, I honestly couldn't tell you, Mike, how many people were there. As a kid, everything seems bigger. It seemed like a giant ballroom with 600 people, but it might have been 50. I don't know. But I remember the Santa Claus calling everybody on stage and like all the kids. And I'm like, I'm not part of this. And they're like, no, go. And I remember that company, they had a toy with my name on it in that bag. And I'm 49, I still remember that. So what you're
Yeah.
doing, and anybody listening, what Mike's talking about is having personal touch. And it's about really people. It's about, like God says, the
Hmm.
greatest commandment is love God, love others. And that's loving
Hmm.
on people, making them feel special. And that stuff, that kid with the soccer ball might be working for you in 10 years.
Dude, that's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
And a lot of our landscapers, it's families, but the nicest stuff in Jackson, the Jackson Golf Course, Teton Springs, Huntsmanville Springs, which is like the PGA course, that's all us. We do it because I have all the best guys and they're all family members.
Isn't there a
It's kids
volcano
and
in the
dads and
Teton Spring
brothers.
area? Is there a volcano in
No,
Teton Spring?
no, not on that one. There's not, but it's incredible. It's if you've ever been to Jackson Hole, it's like the prettiest place on the planet. That's where 85% of our work is.
Yeah, no, I'm laughing.
So,
Somewhere in Idaho, there's a mountain. I thought it was in the Teton area, but there was an inactive volcano. And I remember playing paintball up there, and I sat on a cactus. It was very painful, but fun. But go ahead. All right.
dude, we have volcanoes here everywhere. One's right 2 miles from my house. We've
Yeah,
got
it
them
was
all
somewhere in
over.
Idaho, and I remember we were playing paintball, and I sat back to crouch in and sat right on the cactus. I was
That's
20,
funny.
yeah, 22 and stupid. So,
Yeah.
all right, so now you take this company. I gotta ask though, going to a bank and saying you're gonna double down or you're gonna lose, did you have to put up collateral or assets? How did that work?
Dude, at this time I was maxed out between a bunch of my companies that I had. I didn't have a ton of collateral, but the bank knew that they need, I mean,
They knew they were in it together.
what it came down to is they believed in us, right? They knew that they were in a bad spot with us, but they actually believed we could pull it off. And obviously I had a history of doing a lot of big things, and so did Brian. and they just believed in us. And so they had to take risks just like we did to actually pull that off. But the thing is people are like, ah, dude, it was scary. I didn't sleep for 6 months. I didn't sleep. I just sat in my bed stressing, how am I going to grow it? Who am I going to go recruit? Where am I going to go? It was probably the most stressful 6 months of my business career, actually, was that portion of MD. I was in a business I didn't know. This is what's funny. So I just sold the largest landscape company in the state that does the highest end landscape. So David, here's the big reveal. I've never installed a sprinkler. I don't even know how to install landscaping. I'm not a landscaper. I've never landscaped.
Yep.
I just know business, and I knew that I could hire all the very best guys. I went and poached all the top talent from all my competitors, and I just built a network of the very best, most talented landscapers and put them together. And it was stressful for multiple reasons. One was it was a business I didn't quite understand. I had to dive in and figure out. And two, obviously it was just I had to double it to get to profitability. And so we knew the goal was huge. And so it was stressful, but I didn't sit around waiting or thinking about it. It took me 1 minute of I'm not going to fail, I'm going to figure this out, and we were going full speed ahead. And
Yeah, and
so
let me
I
bring
think a
something
lot of
up.
people sit, right? Sit and think, and that's what kills you.
Yeah, or they're stewing in it, and there's something that you never have mentioned, and maybe it was going on simultaneously. Maybe you just moved past it, but most people in that situation will make excuses, file a lawsuit, try to get compensation from the person who screwed them over in the false contract. Did you do any of that, or did you just say we're moving forward?
No, no, but it was there was no point because I knew that the bank didn't care if that guy was in the wrong. The loans were in my name. I was the one liable. So I could go after that guy and sue him and chase him down and figure and fight that battle for the next whatever, dude. I'd still be
Seven
dealing with
years.
bankruptcy on my, yeah. So in our mind, we looked at it and we were like, should we? And dude, honestly, the owner, this is just, I should be clear, the owner actually didn't do it to us on purpose. He had a bad CFO that was actually cooking the books and stealing from him. He had no idea. He was older, he was 60, he wasn't educated, he had this huge company, and all of a sudden he was running out of cash, but his P&L showed that he was making money and it was stressing him out. And he didn't quite understand it. And so he was just as heartbroken as us when we figured it all out. But we just thought we waste a ton of time trying to make it right, or we can just we know what to do to fix it. Let's just go right now and go fix it. And so I've learned this lesson actually. You're going to meet 5 people in your life, I believe, that when money's involved, they have integrity and they stay true. So that means if you're in a lot of businesses, which I probably experience it more than most because I have so many, I've been hosed a lot. I've had a lot of close friends take advantage of me. And one of the big lessons I've learned is that you either can sit on all the wrongs that have happened to you and stew on it, or you can do what Christ taught us, and that is just let it go and move forward. Even the guys that have wronged me are still some of my closest friends. Yeah, they have a weakness. When money got involved, they made a mistake. Most of them have come back and apologized to me after, but I don't hold on to stuff. When bad things happen, I move past it. And I feel like that's been my superpower. My superpower isn't actually that I'm a crazy smart business guy. I feel like I go after things. I don't fear doesn't paralyze me and I let go of stuff. And I get wronged all the time, but I let go of it and I move forward. I just keep controlling what I know I can control. And I don't fret over stuff I have no control over. It's just a waste of time. I
And
learned
let
that at a really young age.
talk about that. How did you learn it? Because I agree with you, not to demean your hard work, what you've done, your persistence, your focus, but that letting it go, I really do believe is your superpower because you were up, like you said, you didn't even sleep for 6 months. That causes
Yeah.
mental, emotional, physical breakdown, puts stress on your family and marriage and all your relationships. And it's so easy for Satan to get in just at our weakness, say, oh, what about blank, that CFO? You should go after him. Why are you working so hard? He needs to be responsible. Or worse, you start thinking about breaking his legs or something, right? And all those are human, real emotions. But letting it go is something that I struggle with and most people struggle with. So, how did you learn that lesson, Mike? And what, if you were reverse engineering the steps that are maybe natural for you today, what are the steps that you learned and took to let things go?
I remember actually it was in church. A preacher was actually preaching a sermon. I can't even remember who it was now, but it stuck with me. And I was like 20 years old. And he talked about how if someone wrongs you and you hold on to that and you're bitter and you stop going to church because you're so mad because that guy who wronged you, who really messed you over, he still went to church with his family and he never said sorry. And how could that hypocrite be at church? So you stop going and you stay away from it because you're just like, I'm not going to church if that guy's there. 10 years from now, say he never comes back, but in his own personal life, he's actually repented. He's turned everything over to Jesus. He's moved past it. Maybe he forgot. He didn't realize he even hurt you. He never came to you. Who really got hurt? It's the guy holding on to all the anger who actually got damaged the most. And I was like, you know what? I'm never holding on to that. I'm not going to be that guy. And I remember making that decision. And I feel like that's been the biggest blessing in my business career. My very best friend in college moved to Idaho just to be by my family. He's a doctor, he's an anesthesiologist, and he wanted to own his own practice. I have a bunch of real estate. So one of my buddies tells me that, hey, there's a doctor who will sell his place on Main Street. So I go and check it out, and I'm like, man, this is perfect for my buddy. I don't want to say his name, but my buddy's doctor office, right? So I call him up and I show it to him on video, and I'm like, dude, do you want to buy this with me? I'll go 50-50 with you on it. You could put your office downstairs and our renter upstairs would pay for it. It'd be free. He's like, oh, dude, that would be so sick. Thank you so much. He does a bunch of real estate too. One of my companies has a trip to Mexico. So I give him the information of the doctor guy. I say, hey, you need to figure all this out. I'll be back from Mexico in 2 weeks and we'll figure it out. So I come back from Mexico in 2 weeks. I go to the title company. I say, hey, what did this building last sell for? I just want to make sure before I put an offer in that I'm in the right ballpark. They go, oh, it just sold Friday. I go, what do you mean it just sold Friday? It sold to blank blank, my best friend. He just went and bought the whole thing while I was in Mexico. So I call him up and I'm like, did you just buy the building I found and brought to you while I was in Mexico? Did you just buy me out of it? He's, oh, bro, I'm sorry. You already have so much real estate and I really needed that place. Hopefully it doesn't hurt your feelings too bad. How many guys lose their best friend because of something like that? You don't understand. Dude, this is the reality is we all justify. Now I'm going to just take this outside of a business deal. Your wife calls you, you're going to come home from work. You're like, babe, I promise I'll leave work at 5 o'clock. I'll be there at 6. She's, I need you to be home at 6. I need to depend on you. 4:30, someone comes in your office and is like, I got to talk to you. And they're crying. And you're like, oh crap, I got to meet with this employee. So you're meeting with the employee. Your wife calls. Did you leave? You're like, yeah, I'm in the car. I'm just leaving right now. But you're actually in your office, right? And then a half hour later, you're jumping in your car, but now you're showing up a half hour late and you're like, sorry, it was just really bad traffic. It's the same bull crap. It's the same lie. I think we all justify really stupid stuff. We all do stupid stuff to people at different times. And we all deserve to have people hate us forever. But that's why Jesus taught forgiveness. And that's why I think we need to let go because we're not perfect. We're human. And church was for the sick, and all of us are sick. And I just think we're not perfect people, but yet we sometimes expect some people to be. But my buddy is still one of my very best friends. He had a moment of weakness. He probably made a stupid decision. It definitely affected my trust, and he'll have to earn that back over time. But I had to let that go because I valued his friendship and I value him as a human. And I've learned to look past idiotic, stupid stuff that we all do to each other. And then every now and then, David, you meet this remarkable human who's just always true. And those guys you hold on to forever. That's who you go into business with over and over again. And you'll meet those guys, but more than not, you'll have guys that will take advantage of you, and you just gotta move past it, dude. I just think when God said, the first great commandment is to love God, the second, love your fellow men. It's really easy to love people who love you, but to love people who hurt you, that's where it takes Christ-like character, and I think all of us need to develop that. But I actually think that's actually one of the superpowers of being an entrepreneur. If you want to move forward and keep having things be successful, you have to look past all of the bad things that are going to happen on every journey.
Yeah.
That's the lesson.
Yeah. And I want a couple comments, and you respond if you agree or disagree. Number one, you don't really know somebody for at least a year, right? And then they start really revealing who they are. But even if you knew somebody for 20 years, the first time money or a significant amount of money becomes an issue, it's crazy how many people flip, even for a dollar. There's money makes people crazy, almost more than a man to a woman or a woman to a man, adultery. It's just there's something about that love of money that people will cut ties with other humans. Would you agree? Like you said, you've had a lot of sad
Well,
dealings.
you read in the Bible, the root of all evil, money can be the love of money
The
is the root of
love.
all evil. But it isn't money. Money does so many good things and is so powerful for good. But the love of money, when money is put before God and people, that's
Yep.
when you start making bad decisions. And so,
Yeah, money's a
but yeah,
great tool.
I agree.
Yeah. So now
I agree.
the other thing too is we need to make sure. I believe what you're saying is true and biblical, but what you have already balanced in your life. I don't want our listeners to be like, okay, that guy stole, so I'm going to go back into business with him. Like you said, you have to rebuild the trust. And honestly, it may never happen in the sense where you're friends, but you're not going to go back into business. Are you actively in business with this person, or are you just friends now?
We're just friends now, right? I've just separated that out.
Exactly. Exactly. So
And I know, yeah. I know he's a good guy. Like, he does more charitable good stuff. It's just in that scenario, and I think this is how all of us do stupid stuff. We start telling ourselves a story, we justify it, and oh, that makes sense. This should be okay, right? And I just think that was a moment of weakness for him. He actually came back after feeling really bad and said, "Hey, if you want to buy back into that, you can." But I was like, I had already made the decision not to. I'm going to keep business and our friendship completely separate. I'm not doing business with you at that point.
yeah, and
But I
that's
just think it was a moment of weakness for him. But I think a lot of people hold on to that, becomes an enemy for the rest of their life after that, because that guy screwed me.
yeah, but
And
there's a balance in I don't want because there's a lot of people even within churches that teach
mm,
blind forgiveness without the other people even be repentant. And that's a biblical fundamental. You can forgive
mhm.
someone. They don't need to be repentant. But for the restoration, you need to forgive, and but they need to be repentant, just like us with Christ. For whosoever shall
It's
call
two
upon the
way.
name of the Lord shall be saved. Yeah. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, with the mouth confession is made to salvation. So there has to be repentance and a turn on the
Hmm.
sinner's part. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to make sure when you're listening to Mike, just because you forgive doesn't
Doesn't mean
mean
you go into business.
or you're unwise or you
Yeah,
forget. Because if someone has I'm being blunt, if somebody has a history of molestation, don't let them be around children. Hope, and you know
100%.
what? Yeah, if you talk to someone who is truly repentant of any crime, they will be the first one to say, I was wrong and I wouldn't let myself watch a child. Or, hey, I stole $10 million from you. I understand why you don't want to go to business with me. Wouldn't want to go to business with me. So I just want to make sure there are people that preach us false forgiveness that no matter what happens, turn the other cheek, not the biblical way, the fake way, ignore it, pretend it didn't happen, sweep it under the rug, and then you go and you get abused again. So that's what I'm passionate about people not doing, Mike. And that's not what
Oh,
you're
I'm
saying. And I
a
want to make
hundred
sure.
percent agree with you. 100% agree with you. And that's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
All I'm saying is you don't have to hate. Holding on to hate and anger does
Yes.
nothing for you. And that's what I'm trying to actually say. And
And you
so
said it
let it go.
beautifully. Yep, you said it beautifully, but because there's such a false teaching in our churches these days to forgive and not even talk about it and let the sinner back in, the fox in the henhouse. No, I've seen a lot of damage in a lot of people's lives because of that false belief. That's why I'm so passionate about it. And you said it, but I want to make sure our listeners have that balance. So,
No, you're right. What you're talking about is that there's unconditional love is not scriptural and does not exist in the scriptures anywhere, but we teach it sometimes.
mhm,
Unconditional love, dude. God's love is conditioned. He loves the righteous. He hateth the wicked. Right?
yep,
We, it's you do it. You have to set protective barriers around yourself. And so, what I'm really saying as an entrepreneur is, you're going to get hurt a lot, and you've got to let it go. Don't hold on to that anger. You only have so much space for different types of energy in your life, and you need to get rid of the negative energy and embrace the positive so that you can go after your dreams.
yep.
And that negative energy does nothing for you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. All right, so now you got this landscape company, you turn it around, you got this real estate deal go south. Where does life go from there? Bring us through to today.
So right now, today, I've got a bunch of them, but if I was to tell you my number one favorite company that I'm working on, it's actually that signal relief patch you just showed people. It's this. And that actually happened. It was my buddies in MBA school. One of my best friends was a Marriott from Marriott Hotels. He is the grandson of the founders.
Small chain,
And
people might have heard of it.
yeah, yeah. And he runs a manufacturing plant called Spectre Symbol. They print tech basically. So small printable tech, like a Rainbird sprinkler or like the brain of an oil rig, stuff like that. And he called me and said, "Hey, if you have money to invest, you should get over here because you're going to want to invest in this company that I'm working with." So at the time, I was still the CEO of Dish One, which was owned by Dish Network. That was my retailer. I sold to Dish Network. And so Charlie actually had a bunch of his engineers from Denver come out with me, and we went out to Heber and we met these inventors. And they were working on military tech, actually. You said you're close actually to a military operation, but these guys,
Right now, as we speak, the Blue Angels are flying overhead. I can hear them, but the mic silences it.
that's awesome. So back in 2012, when they deployed a team in Navy SEALs, one guy was the communication guy. He always had an 80-pound backpack and a 5-foot antenna that he basically had to carry around. And these guys figured out how to shift that antenna from being magnetic, where you have to point it in this direction and push, the more power you put behind it, the farther your signal goes, to creating an antenna that works on microcurrents, electrical microcurrents. So now instead of being in directional, it's omnidirectional. It's like a light bulb. To simplify it, what they were able to do by working on electrical fields is they could go 300% farther with 1/10 the amount of power. So they shrunk that antenna from 5 feet tall down to the size of a credit card. And I gave them almost $1 million actually for that tech. And so these guys built that tech. And when they were putting it on the soldiers, they noticed that the antennas were picking up electrical current, which we were like, where's that noise coming from? Because that we're looking at it like we're not doctors, we're science, right? We're engineers. And so, why is this picking up electrical current? That's what we were trying to figure out. We figured out finally that it was the body. So, when we built these antennas to work on electrical microcurrents, unbeknown to us, the body operates on the same electrical frequencies, fields. It's basically the same principles. And so that antenna was interacting. So we took that technology and we kept tweaking it until we came up with this patch. And real simple how it works. It's so if you were to get on AI and just say what causes pain, it will tell you that it's just energy. It's electrical energy that your nerves generate. And that energy goes up your neural pathways. And the more energy that hits your brain, the more pain you feel, right? So all the patch does is it's like a lightning rod for that energy. So when that energy hits our patch, it's easier for that energy to go into the patch than to continue up. And so we're able to interact basically with the body's electrical frequencies and turn pain off at the root cause. And so It's really cool because actually we call it discomfort because it's a health and wellness patch. It's not an FDA approved medical device, but we've done 5 sets of clinicals and 85% of people, it's every single clinical's been the same. For 85% of people, the average decrease in pain is 60%. So between 60 to 80% of your discomfort's gone and usually within 5 to 10 minutes. And so it's really cool because when you get rid of the energy, what causes you to actually feel discomfort, when you get rid of that, then the inflammation leaves. And so we have all sorts of thermography now that shows that within 15 to 20 minutes, 2/3 of the inflammation in that area goes away as well, which is the secret to healing, right? Because your body, when you have inflammation in an area, the body just pauses. So, like you sprain your ankle, you get all the inflammation out before it starts to heal. So, when you put the patch on, not only does it make the discomfort go away, but it allows that inflammation to disappear, therefore allowing your body to start healing quite a bit quicker. And so, we're doing a lot of tests right now with athletes. We gave 200 of these to a national soccer team down in Mexico, and their average, they used to have quad injuries that would take 30 days to get better, and those went from 30 to 8 days using the patch. And now we've done a test with BYU baseball here in Utah, and the BYU baseball team, same thing. They're noticing just injuries heal quite a bit quicker. Pitchers, they usually have to sit 4 days after they pitch for their arm to not be sore. If they wear the patch right after they pitch, they wake up with no sore arm. They still obviously have them wait 4 days, but they don't have to have a sore arm. And so there's all sorts of advantages with it. I just think that if you are one or if you know someone who's experiencing a lot of chronic conditions where they're hurting, they should try the patch because there is a really good chance that this thing changes their life. So it's really cool. I was going to tell you, my best friend Matt, he cut his leg off when we were 20. He actually did this funny. When we were 20, you know, because you're my age, we wore MC Hammer pants still. They had those,
Yeah.
remember those strings on the big baggy pants?
Yep.
So he had a pair of those on, and that string blew in the wind and it got sucked into a stump grinder and it yanked his leg through the stump grinder. And so he lost his
Man.
leg. Yeah. And so for 16 years, it was nonstop phantom leg pain, never went away. He installed $100,000 pain pump in his stomach that poured morphine into his spine. That gave him the most relief of anything he'd used at the time. He was the first person I ever put one of these patches on. I was like, Matt, you got to come to my office. I want to see if this will work. He's a nurse. He's actually a nurse practitioner. So he's, dude, I've already done everything. It took everything in me to get him to even come try it. I put that on him, and in 10 seconds, his shoulders were shaking, tears coming down both eyes. He looks up and I don't have any pain. It was the first time in 16 years he had no pain, and it was in 10 seconds. But that's what this does for people. And that's actually why and you already know this, David, but it has a money back guarantee. It takes 15 minutes for most people to know if it works, and we give people 45 days to return it. We don't get very many returns for obvious reasons. It changes most people's lives quickly. And so if you're struggling, you're hurting, you know someone hurting, I just encourage you to try it and see if this is something that actually works because you don't really have anything to lose with the money back guarantee.
Yeah, and
And that's how we want it.
we'll put a link as always, ladies and gentlemen, in our show notes, and we'll put even I think you said there's a promo code we can use Remarkable. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, yes. And that will give them actually a discount that's bigger than what we have online. So for $129, so this one patch can be used every single day. We warranty it for a year. It probably lasts longer, but we warranty it for a year. So for an entire year, it's $129. It's so affordable.
Yeah, and that's
And
most people who make stuff like this, it's disposable. You use it, then you throw it away. So you have to buy more. Your product is reusable for up to a year, correct?
yes, yes. And so it's super affordable. And man, I'm just telling you, man, it can change your life. And especially people that are our age. I think I hit 40 and all of a sudden my back started aching, right? And it's just things start to hurt as you get older. And like, I'll tell you what, it's a game changer. Our average customer is actually 45 plus, and it's just because they're the ones that are having chronic conditions, basically, where they're dealing with a lot of discomfort. And you can wear multiple ones. You can wear it on your neck, back, knees. So a lot of people have more than one. We also have, when you go on the website, you'll find we have the Signal Step, which is just insoles that you put in your shoe that we actually built for someone on Trump's cabinet. He had 6 years of foot problems he couldn't get rid of. And so we built these insoles to go in his shoes. And first time in 6 years, he had zero discomfort. And so we have these insoles that you might want to try. And we have this big back brace. So the bigger the patch is, the more energy it can absorb. And so we have one that's twice this size that goes inside of a back brace that you can wear. And that just nails back discomfort better than about anything we've ever made. So multiple
What
products depending on what you have, what your issues are.
what
Try it
about
out. We have,
oh, sorry, my friend.
I was going to say, we have a little headband you can use for headaches. Stick it in your hat, like the brim of your hat. It's the Jovi band. You can put those in your hat. And again, migraines, all those things, not guaranteed, but again, money back guarantee. And so try it, because if it works, it's game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, Mike and I were talking. I am going to try it and report back to you about the signal relief patches. And as we don't endorse many products at all unless we use them and believe in them. And this is something that Mike and I have spoken has such a high review and success rate that we already signed up as an affiliate. So you can use promo code Remarkable, like Mike said, and get even better discount than what's on the website. But I will report back and make a video once I try this, so you know exactly what I personally thought of it. And I have some back pain regularly, unfortunately, and even a little bit of my neck from some car accidents and injuries. So it's going to be really interesting for us to try this. Now, let me ask you a question, Mike. I believe, like you, energy, science is God. When people are
Mhm.
like, science is different. No, science is God. God created the world, right? It starts off in Genesis, in the beginning. So,
Yeah.
energy, our laws of thermodynamics and all the laws we know as energy can either be created or destroyed. That lines up with the Bible because the Bible is 100% true. And this works off energy, and God is energy. So, I think biblically, everything you said is sound when it comes to these patches. Now, my question is, can you misposition them? Are there any side effects? Can it block energy? If I put the patch on upside down, will I miswire my brain? I'm walking correctly. You know what I mean? What are the negative side effects? And can you do something wrong to cause harm?
I love that you asked that. When people have a pacemaker, I obviously tell them to go to their doctor, but we have thousands of people with them. This is what's so cool about this patch. We're putting nothing into the body, nothing. So all it is basically a lightning rod where energy leaves your body, but we're not putting anything into the body. So we've sold over 800,000 of these, and we have not had a single side effect ever come back. Now, again, who knows, but this is such a non-invasive health and wellness product that it's actually, in my mind, one of the more safe products you could possibly use, because even when you have the TENS unit, you're shocking and scrambling your nerves so that they don't actually work for a while, right? This is putting nothing into your body, like nothing. And so this would be the first thing I would try if I was actually hurting, or if I had discomfort, or I had a headache. Better than ask, anything you could put into your body obviously affects the biome of your body. And so I love this because it's so non-invasive. And that's one of the first products I would try.
Oh,
It's one of the coolest things about it is that it's non-invasive.
no, I'm
And
super excited. I'm
and
going to start today
each
using your
side,
product.
you can't put it upside down. It doesn't matter what side. The tech's actually in the middle. This is just a clear coat on this side. And yeah, and it doesn't, here's the crazier part. If you're allergic to, like, some people have really sensitive skin.
Latex and the adhesives.
When I'm testing this with people, I don't even put it on the skin. I go through the shirt. It just has to be in your electrical field, and it works just the same. So you'll notice that one funny thing, one of the biggest emails I'm getting back from people, because we have a commercial on Fox News you've probably seen. And in that commercial, I have Matt, and Matt's putting it on the outside of his prosthetic. So people are always emailing us and they're like, that thing's a scam. He's not even putting it on his leg. He's putting it on his prosthetic. Obviously, that's fake. That's where he wears it because it only has to be in his elect. So he puts it on the outside of his prosthetic. His leg goes inside of that prosthetic and it does, he gets the same benefit. So that's where he wears it. And so it's a cool product.
That's
I'd say
awesome.
give it a try.
So we're going to make a separate video, ladies and gentlemen, Mike and I, and we're going to link it to this episode. So whether you're listening to the podcast or whether you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, we're going to do a how to use and install video, right, onto yourself or your prosthetic, and that'll be linked. But Mike, before we wrap up this episode, where are you today? Where are you headed next? How can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to continue the conversation? And again, repeat the website where they can get signal relief. So let's start
So
with where are you and where are you headed next?
So right now, this is just a passion product. So my goal with this patch is we want to have a patch in every medical cabinet in America, which means we need to get FDA approval. We need doctors to be able to prescribe it. That's where our ultimate goal is, and that's where we're heading. We also have a line that we're coming out with for pets. This is insane for pets. So when we launched this, we have a Jovi patch for menstrual cramps. And when we launched that, it was on Instagram. So a lady sends us back a post and she goes, "Hey, did you ever try this on your dog?" And she had a video of her dog and it couldn't walk up the stairs. It had arthritis. And then she had taken the bandage and she had bandaged our patch around the dog and it was running up and down the stairs. We have tested that out and it works just on animals the exact same way it does on humans. And so we have a pet line coming out. But our goal is to give non-invasive, drug-free pain relief to the entire world at an affordable cost and not make it about money. We want even the poor person to be able to afford to take away. I'm going to read you an email, David, that I got from a lady, and this will sum up where we want to take this because this is, in my mind, what this is all about. This happened actually a couple years ago. And it was a lady, I think she's in Utah because she said primary children's. Is there another primary children's outside of Utah? But I think
Primary children's hospitals are
Children's
here,
Hospital,
but
yeah,
primary children's, I think, is Utah.
yeah. So her kid had been in primary children's, and she sent us this email, and my marketing guy actually sent it to me. Is, dude, you got to check this out. So this is what she said. "Hello, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving my daughter her life back. 7 years ago, my daughter, who was 8 years old at the time, started complaining about her feet and lower legs hurting. She was a competitive dancer and a tumbler, so I figured it was from that. After a little while, it got worse to the point she quit dance. I took her to a pediatrist who sent her to an orthopedic surgeon who sent her to a vascular specialist who sent her to a rheumatologist at Primary Children's. The rheumatologist finally diagnosed her with amplified musculoskeletal pain syndrome, extreme and constant pain. After 5 years of doctors, MRIs, physical therapy, wearing special boots, compression socks, months more of physical therapy, it was determined there's nothing that could help her. Her pain averaged an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. There's days when she would call us from her friend's house 2 doors away because she couldn't walk home. She turned down birthday parties, trampoline parks, ice skating rinks. She once had her friends leave her in the middle of the mall because she couldn't walk anymore and they wanted to continue shopping. Through it all, she's always been happy, hid the pain as much as possible, but her life has never been the same. 6 weeks ago, I was browsing Facebook and had a neighbor talking about cramps. Someone suggested your patch. I decided to click on the link, and as I read the description, I had tears going down my face because I just knew that it was for my daughter. I ordered them right away, and when they came, we were excited and also a little skeptical. I helped my daughter put one on her leg. Within seconds, she started sobbing uncontrollably. I started to panic, thinking she was hurt. But she looked me in the eyes and barely managed to tell me the pain was completely gone. This sweet girl has not even had 1 minute of relief in over 7 years, and it was gone in an instant. We put the other one on her other leg, and the same thing happened. After she stopped sobbing and stood up, she jumped around the kitchen. She hasn't been able to do that for so long. She's been wearing a patch on both legs every day since, and it's been the biggest miracle and blessing our family's ever experienced. I've been meaning to write this for a few weeks, but my emotions about it are so strong that I'm crying even now. Thank you. My words of gratitude for these patches will never be enough to truly express how we feel, but you forever changed my daughter's life. That sums up my passion for where we want this to go. I think better than anything. I think as a parent, I have 6 kids. You will do anything for your children when you see them suffer. And to know that we could have a product basically that could be in every medical cabinet that could give kids that are going through stuff like that their life back. It's just, I wake up every day excited. It's not about making money. This is the first business that's like actually has nothing to do with making money and everything to do with how we can bless and help people. And that's where we're taking it, man. That's the goal.
And this is a made in the USA product on top of it,
It
correct?
is, yeah. Made in Utah. Yep.
Nice.
From the Marriott factory in Utah. So
Beautiful.
the Spectre symbol actually is who manufactures them, which is awesome.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to pick one up, try it, you can go to signalrelief.com, use promo code remarkable. That's correct, Mike, right?
Yep. Yep. Promo
Awesome.
code remarkable and they'll get them for $129. And dude, I'm telling you, man, best thing ever. So
Awesome.
it's awesome.
Before we close this session of the Remarkable People podcast, it's been great having you today, my friend. Any final thoughts or anything else we missed in your story or anything else in the future that you want to discuss before we move on?
No, I want to re-hit the one thing that I said right at the beginning, and that is so many of us have great ideas or things we want to do, but we give ourselves, just like we justify stupid stuff sometimes, we justify why we can't actually go after our dreams. I just encourage your audience to really think about what they really want and not have the faith to go after what you were meant to do. And God will support you, God will be there with you, but you have to take that step into the dark. And I just think if I can encourage people to do that, that also is life-changing. And you can affect so many people just as an individual person, but when you create a business and you can control the entire environment and culture of that entire business, that's where you really start to be able to affect a lot of lives. And I just think it's been one of the greatest blessings in my life, and encourage everyone else to go after it too. If they have ideas and thoughts and aspirations, go get it.
Oh, man, I couldn't agree more. So, Mike, thank you for being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, like our slogan says, don't just listen to the great info Mike shared, but do it. Repeat that good each day. Form healthy habits so you can have a great life in this world, but most importantly, in eternity to come. So, Mike, thanks for being here today, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's been an honor. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you. Share this with your friends and family. Try the Signal Relief patches. Leave comments and let us and others know what your experience was. And we will see you in the next episode. Ciao. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope this show has inspired you. The whole purpose of the Remarkable People podcast is to inspire you, to motivate you into action, to help you have an even better life, to overcome things you've not yet been able to overcome, or to grow to the next level that you never thought possible. And all of this, not just to benefit you in this world, but to have you come to a relationship with God where it grows every day stronger, and not just this world is blessed, but your eternity is blessed. And we sincerely want to do just that and to glorify God. And we hope with this episode, we accomplish that. If we did, please let me know. It's great to be encouraged and to spread the word to our remarkable guests that it helped in your life. If we didn't, let me know. Write me an email. You can go to davidpasqualone.com, go to our contact us page, and let me know what you think. I got tough skin. Let it rip. Anything you can think of to make this a better podcast, to help you grow and to glorify God, I'm in. So that's it. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for sending us feedback. If we can help you in any way, let us know. And if you can spread the word about the Remarkable People podcast, share the episode to your friends, your family on social media. It would be a huge honor and blessing. Again, I'm not trying to be the most famous podcast in the world for my benefit. I truly want a podcast that's the best podcast in the world to help as many people as we can to have a better life, come to know Christ, to grow in the Lord, and to have that salvation so they can be with God in peace and joy in eternity. And right now we're together on this earth, so let's do everything we can to work together and help each other grow. Like the Bible says, love the Lord thy God is the first commandment, and the next commandment is to love thy neighbor as thyself. So let's do it together. I'm David Pasqualone. I love you, not as much as God loves you, but if I can help you in any way, just ask. And again, please share this with your friends and family so we can help them too. Ciao. See you in the next episode.
The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat. For life. The Remarkable People Podcast.